The 8.8 update brings back the Serene Coast, Comorin, and Swamp maps. In addition, a completely new location appears, called the Tundra. We will discuss them today. Let's start with a look at the new map. From the name, you'd probably expect a winter map, but this is not true. You'll be greeted by the colors of the fall: orange trees between grey rocks and glittering mirrors of water. You will spawn near the railroad that runs through the whole map. The northern and southern bases are connected by a bridge. It can be tempting to use it and drive straight at the enemy right from the start. But such an assault will probably result in a quick death. Try using the bridge closer to the end of the battle. The main battles will be fought in 3 areas of the map: the first, second, and third columns. Here, you will find a lumber mill and a bay with islands rising from the waves. This region has a hill next to the lower base. It provides a good location for countering the opponent's attack. You can also find great firing positions by the rocks. When starting from the top base, you have a good defensive position on a hill. Your field of fire covers half the map from here. The rocks near the lumber mill will make a great defensive wall. The area of the first 3 lines is suitable for all types of tanks. You can get here quickly and try going around to the enemy's rear. The attackers will find plenty of cover, but the terrain is also good for the defenders. In the end, the team with more skill and cunning will prevail. The central part of the map is quite small, which means that combat here will be fierce. There's a lot of cover under the bridge. This place is best suited for heavily armored and well-armed tanks. Moving out of cover will be very dangerous. The defenders will have a hard time, because opponents can appear from any direction. But when the resistance has been broken, you'll be right next to the enemy base. Now we come to the third part of the map, the 8th, 9th, and 0 columns. The top and bottom corners of the 0 line have hills. Firing from them, you can cover much of the map. These hills are good for base defense and countering attacks from the 0 line. They also provide great TD positions. The biggest action will take place in the E9, F9 tiles, where the teams will compete for the title King of the Hill. This is an extremely important position. You can control most of the map from the top. You can fire on both bases and cover the center of the map from here. The climb is steep and exposed. Some rocks provide partial cover, but no part is completely safe. This area is best suited for medium tanks because the players will have to climb up the hill as fast as possible. However, heavy tanks with thick turret armor and good gun elevation will be useful here as well. The Tundra pushes you into enemy contact almost immediately, but at the same time, it lets you be cunning and creative. This map combines flanking maneuvers with intense close-range combat. Now let's review the changes to the 3 old maps. We will start with Serene Coast, because it has changed the most. The island in E9 is no more. It's been replaced by a cape that stretches from the bottom base to the E9 tile. It's quite narrow and pretty rocky. You can get to it via a bridge or a ford from the top base, like before. There's some good cover to be found on the cape, but this direction is exposed to artillery. Besides, you can be shot by tanks and TDs in the K6, J6 tiles, and from the town. The town is much bigger now. It stretches along the railroad for almost half the map. The buildings provide much more cover in the central part of the map. The terrain of the first 3 rows has changed. Now there are impassable cliffs instead of the steep climbs on the B1 and A2 tiles. There's an ordinary hill instead of a great mountain on the E1 tile. This makes it much easier for artillery to target the area. It doesn't take away the great strategic value of this point, though. The well-known ledge in B4 has disappeared. Instead, there's a village here. A picturesque gorge lies between the village and the E1 tile. The terrain is quite difficult, so you should stay alert at all times. The E4 tile now holds a railroad bridge. You can easily get to town from the valley thanks to a passage below the bridge. The tankers now have 3 directions for attack. This provides a great opportunity for maneuvers and cunning tactical games. You can meet your opponents head-on and then stealthily attack them through the cape. The main thing is to keep track of the developing situation. The Comorin map has several major changes. New base locations. They've been moved to the place where the vehicles are spawned. Additional cover has been added by the side bridges, including some unbreakable ones. Attacking from this direction is now easier. The third important change is that the hill on the central island is much higher. It now provides reliable cover and even protects from artillery fire. In addition, many small changes to the terrain and the positions of buildings, trees and bushes were made. Fords have appeared near the bridges, and the weather is now sunnier. When battling in the updated Comarin, you can't leave any part of the map unattended. If you abandon the first two lines, then the enemy will be able to fire at the tanks on the island, and it'll be much harder to hold this position. If the center gets abandoned, then you will not be able to feel safe on most of the map. So no matter which direction the team chooses for the main attack, several vehicles must take defensive positions on the remaining ones. The swamp map. Now it is bright and colorful. Numerous small objects were added, and the castle ruins look fantastic. A lot more vegetation has appeared on the map. Almost any point on the map can be used for passive scouting. The canter of the map is still occupied by the swamp itself. The hills there are now higher and provide better cover. The ground remains as marshy as before. Mounds have appeared at the edges of the swamp. You need to climb them in order to fire at the enemies below, but you'll be a sitting duck there. The mounds can be good for hiding and stealthy movement far from the enemy's eyes, however. The hills in D4 and G7 have become more important. You can control most of the map from these as before, but now you can roll down to the swamp from these hills. You can also move closer to the enemy base. On top, the hills now have rocks that provide cover from enemy fire. There's more cover around the bridges now. This map was good for defensive combat before. Now the swamp is completely different and encourages attacking. Thanks to the modified terrain and additional cover, the attacker can now appear in the most unexpected places. As before, you should not attack through the swamp because it leaves you really vulnerable. So the 8.8 update makes the dreams of the tankers that wanted the old maps back come true. Especially the legendary Comarin. The Tundra map is a new one, but it has the potential to become a favorite. That's all. Good luck in battle.